Today I'm comparing a 21-day dry-aged steak from Aldi with a premium dry-aged steak from a butcher. In the process, I'll be taking you through a comprehensive breakdown of both steaks, and towards the end of the video, we'll even be doing a blind taste test with someone who has absolutely no idea what experiment I'm doing. But before we go any further, let's head to one of my favourite local butchers in Melbourne and then Aldi to get my hands on some steak. The purpose of this video is because I did a butcher comparison last week from Aldi and popped a fair bit of slack. The reason for that is because I said I was comparing premium steaks. I had no idea that Aldi sold a premium dry-aged steak, because I suspect that the steak from Aldi is probably going to be cheaper than that from the butcher. And I guess my job today is to determine whether the price difference, because I assume there is going to be one, is worth it from a butcher. I also have copped a fair bit of slack from people about heading and supporting to your local butcher. I also get a lot of comments from people that can't afford premium steak from a butcher. But I am doing this video today out of pure interest. I mean, I've never tried this steak before, the dry-aged Aldi steak. We're going to Neil's Meats in the Prahran market, which it's a butcher that I know for sure sells dry-aged meat. Yes, I do have a relationship with them, but there'll be no bias. So basically what I'm trying to say is that I'm trying to keep it as fair as possible. It's been a long time since I've been at this butcher. Good to get back every so often, hey? Let's go get some steak. Left my keys in the car. The beautiful Prahran market. I suspect anyone watching that lives in Melbourne might know this beautiful establishment. I'm sticking with Neil's Meats today. For anyone wondering, they do know I'm coming. They don't know that I'm filming. Plenty of options, and Neil's Meats are busy as always, which doesn't surprise me. Filming today?
Are you?
Yeah. Oh, I'm buying some steak here. Yeah, like some dry-aged. I can come around and just watch you cut it if you want. I'm gonna watch them cut up some dry-aged meat, I think. Hey mate, how are you? What's going on?
Steak loads in the house.
I'm in the house. How are you? We want a dry-aged meat, I think we got it. It's beautiful. I'll peek in here. Don't think we'll be short of dry-aged meat in this place. What do you reckon, Paul? That is the thickest T-bone I've ever seen. Yeah. This is the main event. How long's it been dry aging for?
Probably about 6 or 7 weeks.
6 or 7 weeks, okay.
I'm just going to cut a couple off.
Yeah, okay. You got to show me the inside. Look at that. That's stunning. You can tell that's premium.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful. Look at this. There we go.
Look at this bench.
That's alright. Look at that. That's what we're after.
Yeah.
That is as good as it gets. That'll sort me, mate. I'll go out the front and pay for that. Perfect.
Hey, Darcy.
Thanks, Kate.
Stop it, boys.
I appreciate you. Of course. Thank you so much. Appreciate that a lot. Have a good day. So we have our hands on our steak, so I think it's time to head to Aldi. Pulling into Aldi now, and I obviously didn't look hard enough last time because I had no idea that they had this dry-aged steak. Here we are. Supposedly in the video that I did before, I blatantly missed this premium dry-aged steak that they stocked. So here we are, heading back into the exact same Aldi that I went to last week. And like always, I will be going for the best or the most marbled steak that I can get my hands on. That's what I got last time. And literally right next to it was this 100-day grain-fed Scotch fillet. This is what I'm after, the 21-day dry-aged Scotch fillet steak. And as you can see, the marbling on this one isn't too good. So I'll be searching my way through here, looking for steaks with the best marbling that I can find. And I think that this option here is the winner. And as you can see here, the exact same price, barely marbled at all. So there we are, got my hands on this steak. So let's head back home and we'll start the comparison. So I'm back from my local steak expedition. I've got my beautiful dry-aged steak from Neil's Meats here. And as you can see, I've got the double Scotch fillet steak from Aldi. Now this only came in the double pack. There was no option to buy individual steaks. This came in at $44.99 a kilo. And according to the packaging here, I've got 446 grams in total, which cost me $20.07. And like I said in the video, I've gone through and I've individually selected both of these steaks based on their marbling, which is something that I would highly recommend you do. If you are after a premium steak and and you can't afford a butcher steak, then this is actually a great option. I'm going to take out my dry aged steak from Neil's Meats. And as you would have seen before, this is a beautiful looking steak. I mean, get a load of that. Absolutely perfect. I prefer, obviously, I am very lucky, I know, but when you go to a butcher, you can actually have some control over the thickness of the steak that you're getting. So as you can see, this has a reasonable level of thickness, whereas the steak from Aldi is cut thinner, which I suspect is probably on purpose. This steak from Neil's Meats, the marbling is just insane. This has been dry aged for what they said was 6 to 7 weeks, and that cost me around $89.90 a kilo, almost double the price from the butcher. But it also makes me feel a bit sad. Sad because I know that not everyone is going to be able to afford this, and sad because I know that there are so many local butchers that are probably missing out on business because Aldi are offering such cheap steak. So I'm going to get the scale out. The butcher steak cost me around $30. It's coming in at around 315 grams. I'm going to see if the weight here is accurate. So as you can see, they're fairly thin compared to the butcher steak. So one individual steak was $235. So it's around 450 grams according to my scale. So technically I've got 120 grams more worth of steak, about $10 cheaper. So as you can see, the Aldi steak still has some pretty distinct marbling. I always, if I'm buying steak from a supermarket or a butcher, no matter where I go, I look for marbling like this. The butcher steak is just, the marbling is on another level. I confirmed with the butcher that this was grass-fed. Based off the labeling, I've had no idea whether the Aldi steak is grass-fed or grain-fed. From a looks perspective, the butcher steak is definitely coming out on top so far. I'm using a very thin salt. If you are using flaky salt, make sure you season it around 2 hours before you start cooking it. And if you've got flaky salt that sits above or on the surface of the meat, as you press it down into the pan, it won't actually have contact. That's why I like to use a thin salt, just because it absorbs really quickly and it doesn't actually affect the development of the crust if you're cooking it on a pan. When you do cook on a pan, a lot of the salt will be lost, so don't be scared of the seasoning unless you're dry brining for like 24 hours. But if you're like me and you're seasoning just before you start cooking them, I wouldn't be too worried with the amount of salt that you're putting on your steaks. So now that I've seasoned them, I think it's time to get them on the pan and start the cook. I forgot to add, if you are pre-seasoning before, make sure you put a plate under here and rest it on a rack. If you don't, all the liquid will pool at the bottom of the plate that you're resting it on. Now I can't exaggerate enough how important it is when you're cooking thin steaks to make sure that this is appropriately preheated. So for a thin steak like this, I would preheat on a medium to high heat for around 10 minutes, and then throughout the cook, modify the temperature according to how the crust is developing. That's incredibly important. If it's too high, it's just going to smoke everywhere and there's a chance that you'll overcook the steak too quickly. So I think it's really important to find that sweet spot to appropriately develop the crust and then evenly cook the steak as well. I mean, that's the most important part. I'm going to be real with you here. I'll be preheating it on the stove. It's been about 10 minutes. For thin steaks like this, you really want to make sure that you develop a crust in a quick amount of time. And to do that, or the best way to do that, is to make sure that you use a form of oil. It doesn't have to be my beef tallow, although it does help. I've probably got this on a medium to low heat now, just because this cast iron pan holds so much heat. So that's the sound you want to hear whenever you put a steak on. And I am going to use a grill press as well. I'm going to start the timer now. So you want to make sure that the pan, just because you are cooking it in a fairly quick time frame, you want to make sure that the steak has constant contact for the whole time, which is why I like to use one of these grill presses. Mind you that when you do cook something like this, it will naturally get colder in this spot. For something like this, the heat is clearly going to be in the center, but what I would do in this instance is potentially just move it over slightly. It's still going to be hotter than the actual spot when you flip it. And I can tell here the crust is really starting to develop now, just because it has that constant contact. 158, 159, we'll give that a flip. We'll see how that looks. As you can see, it's really starting to develop. So it's coming up on 4 minutes since we started the cook, and we are sitting at an internal temperature of around 32 degrees. So it's at this point that I really like, now that it's had 2 minutes on each side, and you can see that crust, it's beautiful. Now that it's had 2 minutes on each side, I really like to start flipping it a bit more once that crust has developed on each side. So that's going on at around the 4-minute 40 mark. And you can see how hot that pan is. Now, when you're cooking two steaks at once, you want a bit of separation, or else it's going to boil. So ideally, I would be cooking these steaks separate, but you got to do what you got to do in this scenario, just because I want both of these steaks ready at the same time. Now, this steak is probably going to be coming together. Look at that. That crust is just beautiful. Like I said, it wasn't even that long, but it has developed really quickly. So we are sitting at 41 degrees internally, so we're not far off. I'll probably take this off at around 45, 46. for that perfect medium rare. So I like to do a finger test as well. And to be honest, that's not far off being cooked. And look at that crust. It's just absolutely beautiful. I'm pretty happy with that. It's been, oh, the smoke alarm's going off. The perils of cooking, hey? Might have to cook this over here now. So yeah, just pulled the butcher steak off and it's perfect. It's sitting around 48 degrees, 49. I've just taken it off. I think it went on at 440, so it's about 2 minutes exactly. As you can see, the crust was really coming together. We are sitting at, to be honest, around 45. So yeah, I don't really like buying thin steaks. You can't seem to avoid it at supermarkets. So that's not too bad. They cut the steaks super thin, which is a big disadvantage for me personally. Yeah, I reckon that's done, sitting at around 46. I'll probably rest them both for around 5 minutes before I slice them open. Trying to get a bit of steak out of the kitchen. So it's been about 5 minutes now, probably a bit more actually, as you would have seen. I think I'm gonna start out with the butcher steak for a bit of a reveal. Insane, look at that. Genuinely insane crust. Really happy with how that's looking. I'm gonna get one of my knives here and time for the reveal. Do the slice. I can already tell it's good. Look at that. Absolutely perfect. The fat's rendered out nicely, color perfect, just the way I like it. To me, that is the perfect steak. And then this, I haven't done the best job. I mean, the crust is still not bad, just such a thin steak. You really need to like crank the heat so high when you're cooking these thin steaks. I'll slice it open now. Honestly, still a similar color. We'll slice the thicker part here. Although it is a thin steak, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, if I was to have this at a restaurant, I wouldn't be complaining. The person that's taste testing is outside right now. So I'm gonna blindfold him before he even sees them, and then I'll let him taste test after that. You're not allowed to see the steaks before we taste them.
So I'm blindfolded.
You're blindfolded straight away. Maybe you go the same spot as last time. That's the chair. So last week, people were pretty annoyed that I told you which steaks they were before you ate them. So this week, you've got no idea what's going on.
I have no idea.
Here we go, that looks like a good bit. Here we go. Ready?
Yeah. Definitely salted.
Salted, yeah. Too salty or?
No, I like my salt. That was really nice.
Really nice.
Yeah.
Okay, better than last week's?
Yeah, no. It may have been maybe on par with the higher one.
The Woolies.
Was it Woolworths?
Yeah.
No, that was nice.
That was good.
That was
okay.
really nice.
And this is option number 2. Ready?
Yeah. Okay.
That was a I didn't hear a in the first one.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to compare it to the first one. So that one was less salty.
Really?
It almost tasted a bit more cooked as well.
Okay. Do you want me to salt up another bit?
Yeah, maybe chuck a little bit more salt on the second one.
Okay.
Yeah, I reckon the second one is my preference.
Okay.
Why? The first one was more chewier and the second one was more tender.
Flavor-wise?
I think yeah, the second one, they were pretty similar flavor-wise. The tenderness versus the chewiness is probably what makes it better to me.
So the first one is this one, the second one's here. So this was a dry aged steak from Aldi.
Okay.
And this was a dry aged steak from the butcher. And you picked the second one, which is the one from the butcher.
Yeah. The first one was just like that little bit chewier, and yeah, the second one was more tender.
So the Aldi steak was $44.90 a kilo, and the butcher steak was 90.
90 a kilo.
Yeah.
Wow. So
but it's dry aged
for
basically, but dry aged for 7 weeks. Let me taste it for myself. I agree. This one melts in your mouth a bit more. This is probably a great option for someone who can't afford premium steak but wants a bit of a treat sometimes.
Yeah, like I would say that's a special occasion steak, whereas like that one, you could probably justify having it more regularly.
There we have it. The blind taste tester went with the butcher. Appreciate your time again, man.
No worries.
Like,
thanks
subscribe.
for having me back.
See you next week.
See you later.
What are you thinking?
That's good.